Okay, good. Thank you for the question during the break. By the way, a colleague of you told me uh, about one one thing that happened, and it's better to clarify. Uh, Not in our example, but in case you use both value and default value, okay, React prints a warning in the console. It says you need to decide if you want to use a controlled component or uncontrolled form component. Okay? So you need to choose between value and default value. Why? Because actually the default value is just for uncontrolled components. Why? Because when it gets rendered the first time, the control has the value that is decided by what you write here. That means what you write in the initialization of the state. So it doesn't make sense to use the default value in in controlled form components. Okay, that's why it gives you the warning. Okay, it's perfectly fine. I mean, you are experimenting with the things, and it's nice when some warnings comes out because it means you need to reflect and think about what is correct and what is not. Okay, and so basically we are not going to use the default value anymore. It's just there for completeness, but for controlled for components it's not needed because the default value is the initialization of the state. Okay, and it just passed as value to the component. Okay. Okay, so what are we missing here? Well, we said before the break, we would like to make this form appear and disappear depending on a state actually of the application. Okay, in the beginning we load the application, and I mean I don't like this form already open with something. I mean, what does it want? I mean, I just wanted to have a look at the answers. Okay. Okay, so let's try to implement this behavior. So let's go back to app, and you see this row, course, and so on, answer form. We just need to make this part of the JSX appear or disappear depending on some state of the application. Again, so we need to define a state. We need to define a state like const. No, what's the name I give? Show form, something like this, I think. Show form, yes. We do it after. I mean, before or after, it doesn't make any difference. Okay? They're just independent for React. Show form, set show form, okay, use state, and this in my interpretation is a Boolean value. It's either true or false. Okay, so I need to initialize it as true or false depending on what I want in the beginning. I think I don't want to show the form, right? So false. Show form. Okay, show form. How do I use it? Well, simple. Just open JavaScript environment, so the curly bracket, show form, you render the row. Otherwise, you render, well, in the beginning, you render nothing, null, undefined, whatever you want. It doesn't get rendered. Okay? Okay, good. So the form has disappeared. But now I need something to make the form appear, right? So maybe a button, something like this. Okay, so when the state is false, okay, I render a button. Okay, add, I would say. Okay, add something. I don't know, whatever you want. I mean, I think I need to import the button, right? Button is not defined. It's a React Bootstrap element and needs to be imported. Button. Button. Okay, save. Okay, now it works. Add something, but then it doesn't work, right? Buttons need to have an on-click handler to do something. This is not a submit button, okay? So it has no default behavior. So let's go back to the button, on-click. So we don't have the on change here. It doesn't make sense on the buttons. The buttons can be clicked or not. You cannot change anything else. On click, and on click, well, set show form true. Okay? Don't forget the first part. Okay? We're just ignoring the event. We don't care about the event because we just want to change the state. Okay? So, again, let's make sure it works. Click, and the form is shown. Okay, that's again the beauty of React. You change a state, it changes the interface according to the state and props. Okay, good. And now we need something to make the form disappear, right? Okay, like cancel or whatever. We need a second button. I think it's fine, right? Or otherwise, I don't know. These are elements of the user interface. Just to stick to, you know, the application that you're using around in the web. Okay. If you are in doubt when you observe some applications, just take inspiration. Okay. Okay, but this button is inside the answer form, right? So answer form, 4 components. That's the answer form. Good. The button is here. I want another button. Sorry, I'm so bad at typing. Okay, button. Variant. I'll make it secondary. Okay, so it's gray. But I mean, just we don't. It doesn't really care. It doesn't really matter. Cancel. Okay. Save. So the button is there. Again, on click. We need to do something. What are we going to do here? That's interesting, right? So on click. On click. We need to change what? The state that decides if the form appears or not. But it's not here, the form. The form state, the state, sorry. The state that decides if the form appears or not. It's here in main, right? Okay. So show form, set show form. I should use set show form false. Okay. I should call this function. But if I need to call this function, I need to pass it to the component. Okay. So answer form. I think I passed it. Answer form. Just because it becomes more complex later. Yeah, close form. Yeah, close form. So you see that we can decide the name of the properties. I mean, regardless of the functions that we pass, just make sure you have some consistency in the name of the attributes you want to use. Okay. Yeah, just we pass set show form false. Okay. Since it is the function to close the form, I call it with set show form false. I'm passing a function, and you see it from here, because I'm creating a function right now exactly inside the brackets, and close form here just needs to be called props close form called without anything, because it doesn't take anything. Okay, nothing here. Okay, let's see if it works. Did I save the file? Yes. So add, no. Can I put the, oh, here I probably missed. something kind of stack trace. When this error appears like last time, 82, it's because I called the function instead of set show form. Form, answer form, props close form. Yeah, here. I need to pass a callback always. Okay, I don't want to call the function immediately. Okay, that's a really common error, but now you know how to solve it, right? So add and then cancel. Yeah, it works. Good. Okay. So there are states even just for presentation. This is really a presentation state. It's inside the main component here. I mean, main in terms of the name is main. It has data. It also has a presentation state. It's fine. Okay. We can define states wherever we want with React. In any components where we need the information. Okay. Okay, good. Let's do the last step, okay? Which is also a bit more difficult. Now we have a form. We can add the stuff. I mean, let's just try to add things. Well, before the last step, okay? Let's do a little bit of validation, okay? Otherwise, handle submit and we create an answer. What's happening if text is empty or score is a negative number and so on? Well, at the moment, nothing, right? So just test the code, okay? So see, it's empty, right? Okay, it's empty, it's empty. I mean, we didn't do anything, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know if it's fine or not. It depends on the application logic. That's what you need to understand from the text of the assignment at the exam, okay? And if you are in doubt, just ask, and we will try to clarify things if they are just about interpreting the text. And then implementation is up to you, but interpreting the text, since we are the ones who write the text, it's up to us. I mean, make things clear, okay? So let's just do something when the text is empty, okay? So if not text, well, let me do not text, right? What are we going to do? I mean, I don't really know. I mean, we need to decide, you know, what we want to do. If there is an error in a form, well, you typically get notified about which is the error and so on. So, well, basically, we say, well, where do I notify the user about the fact there is an error? An additional message somewhere, okay? That's the simplest thing you can do. I mean, you cannot print in the console. The normal users don't open the console, okay? Sometimes not even you. Okay, so when you have a form that doesn't work, typically the form tells you where it doesn't work with some red borders or whatever, or messages, etc. Let's try to do the simplest thing, just a message, okay? And then when you are, I mean, you finished your assignment and you would like to make things nicer and so on, which, by the way, not required for the exam. You can make things a little nicer, and you will discover that you know, these controls can have some modalities that can be set to make them red and give error messages and stuff like that. But we don't want to go into so many details about this, you know, these issues, because they are details again, and we would like to be focused on the state of the application. And the state is that we are in an error condition, okay? So it's good to have a state. It's represented in the form of an error message. And let's say that if the error message is empty, no problem, no errors, it's fine. Otherwise, we will show this error message, okay? So it's good to have, in general, a state that is basically the error message. Yeah, error message. Message set error message. Error message. Okay? It typically is a string, which in the beginning is empty. And with this state, I represent two things. If there is an error, and if there is an error, which error is it in the form of a string? Okay? So string empty means no errors. Okay, so if no text, now I know what to do. Set error message. Some text is empty. Some text is empty. Okay, I can be more specific, but at the moment I just wanted to, show you something. Okay, and so I don't want to perform the addition. So else, okay, just make sure the logic of your application works. Okay, in any case, it should work. I hope so. Okay, add something, save. It doesn't save, right? The point is that I didn't show the message. I need to place to show the message. But if you check the state, just for debugging, check the state, which is answer for. Some text is empty, so the state, it works. We just need to show it. One of the simplest way to show this error is to add an element in the return. So in the JSX, which is conditionally rendered depending on error message. Okay, I typically use the alert, but you can use whatever you want. Alert, it's a Bootstrap React Bootstrap component again. Yeah, let me import it. Alert. It's nice because it's red. It's it looks. It can be closed later. Okay. So alert. Okay. Alert, and here that's the error message. Error message. Or null, right? False, whatever you want. I mean, anything that evaluates to false, null, undefined, it doesn't get rendered. So what's wrong here? Okay. So add constructor and so on. I know what's wrong, but I just wanted, no, unexpected. Okay. Yeah, unexpected. So it means, well, actually, you remember that we need to have a single element tree. Okay, I hoped it was more explicitly, but I mean, if you run into something like this, I mean, just delete stuff, make sure everything works, okay, and try again. And if you cannot solve it, I mean, ask for advice in the lab or maybe even on the chat, for basic stuff. I mean, we try to help, okay, in case it's not really about, how to design the application and so on. So if you are unsure, just wrap everything inside the React fragment, and the React fragment acts as the root of the element tree and makes everything work, if the problem is that one, okay? Or alert, yeah, I forgot to close it. Okay, good. Save. So some text is empty, okay? Okay, good. And now, how do I close it? And why it's blue? Well, it's blue because I forgot about the type, right? Variant. Danger. Okay? So now it's red, but it doesn't really matter. The color doesn't really matter. I mean, the nice thing of this component, again, it's a React Bootstrap component. It's already prepared for us. We didn't implement it. We need to check in the documentation how to use it, is that it can be made dismissible, which is a Boolean attribute, again, created by the ones who implemented this alert, but also it takes an handler on close, okay, and you can you can set, basically you can set the state with this way, okay? So dismissible makes a cross appear. I'm not sure if it already appears or not. Let's do like this. Okay, yeah, that's this cross, okay? But I mean, the cross makes the thing disappear, but it's not enough for us because you see the state is still there. When we make the message disappear, we also want to reset the state, okay? Because the user has read the state. So on close, so when this cross has been pressed, we just reset the state, set error message and empty, okay? Good. So let's reload because, you know, you never know if it's been refreshed correctly or not. Save. Some text is empty and you see the state which is on answer form. It's here. Some text is empty. You press the button and the state is also reset. Okay, that's good. So we can set another message. Otherwise, we show the message and it appears the previous error message. Okay, good. And so that's a simple way in which we can handle errors in forms. Okay, really the simplest thing you can do. If you want to do more sophisticated stuff, it's fine. Okay, but it's not really required. I mean, well, I should be a little bit more specific with the errors. Because, you know, something is wrong. Of course it's wrong. The button doesn't save. Okay, I knew it. But if you know what is wrong, you can write it into the message. Okay? Either a text or respondent is empty or whatever. It depends on the code you wrote. Okay? In this case, we just tested for text. You can test, and I will commit a code that will test if the number is... I think if the number is greater than 0 or something like this, okay? The score, okay? But so in this way, we handled an error that can happen in the form. Okay, good. And now I would like to have another modification that is, we have a form, okay? And in this form, the initialization is empty, which is fine for adding stuff, right? But I mean, the same form could be recycled for editing the content, okay? Why can't I edit an element, okay? Like the second answer, I would like to edit it instead of deleting it or upvoting, downvoting, and so on. I can edit it. I already have a form. Can I make it work for editing? Yeah, the answer, of course, yes, because we are talking about this. But how can I make it work? Well, for instance, you know, the initialization. When you show a form, why can't you just initialize the form with the values that are coming from the item I would like to edit? It's a possibility, right? So I click save, and I just need to make sure that when I'm saving, I'm not adding a new element, but I'm editing the content of that list of answers. So it's another function I need to call. But it's okay. If the answer form knows that it's editing and not adding, it will call another function. I can do it with the code. Okay? Good. So, is it clear? So I would like to have buttons here for editing and recycle the form for editing. Okay? So basically changing the initialization of the fields. And when I save, instead of adding, I would like to edit the element. And that's all. Okay? And also this gives you an idea why, I mean, we need to try to write reusable components. Of course, I can make another component with other 4 fields just for editing. But they are actually the same, right? There are 4 elements, date and answer, respondent and score, both for add and for edit. And so let's try to reuse them. So we also understand something more about how React works. Okay. Okay. So let's try. Well, first, answer components. There's the answer actions. You know that well, we didn't do it in the classroom on Thursday, but I moved the button into a separate component, so it's easy now when I need to add a new button. It's more, let's say, sorted out. Button, class name, etc. Variant. I don't remember which variant it is. I want to have the yellow one. Which one is it? Components, answer components. Warning. On click. Props, it will be edit. Okay. I need to define it, of course. Okay. Class name. Which one? B pencil. I like the B pencil. I mean, this is just appearance, right? But there's a lot of you like appearance in the lab, but that's right. Of course, I need to pass the edit as props, and the edit is just props edit, so it will be passed again. And I need like delete and vote and so on to pass the ID I would like to edit. Okay. And in the answer table, I think we need to pass this one as well. Edit. So some of you asked me during the break, I need to pass these properties at all levels. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. You have no options at the moment, okay? That's the context, the next topic, but I mean, context is, it's about global status and so on, state and so on. So as I mean, this way of passing props is also a way of documenting what each component is waiting for, so is expecting, okay? And so I would encourage you to use these props, okay? Props edit, and the edit, now we go back to app because we are in the answer table. So in app, we need to write a function to edit. Function edit answer. It takes the ID and oops, and we will pass it to delete edit answer. Okay, we pass these props. Edit answer. Yes, edit answer. Let's write the edit answer. Okay. Actually, call it save existing answer. It doesn't matter. Okay, good. ID, sorry. Yes. So how do I write it? Well, actually, nothing to invent again. Updating items in an array of objects. That's the way. Okay? I put the slides exactly for this reason. So set answers. Well, actually, yeah, the ID is not enough, right? The ID is not enough because I'm expecting the answer. So where did I miss this point? Edit answer. Okay. Okay. So now there is a more complex issue we need to handle. Okay. So we started from saying, okay, we have a button. We would like to edit a certain ID. Oh, by the way, this was ID. ID. Okay, good. We want to edit this ID. And so actually this ID, I mean, this ID should be selecting the element that works as the initialization for our form, right? Okay. So, do I need to create an additional state or not? Where do I store this information? Has this information to be stored somewhere? Okay, this is a difficult question. I think we stored it, yes. Yes. Actually, this is the most difficult part of today's lecture, okay? Because the rest was more or less obvious, right? I mean, we have a list of answers, we have a state with the answers. We have a state that says show the form, fine. We have a state to show the error, fine. And now we need to have a state, or do we need to have a state to show, to decide what to show in the form? Well, actually, yeah, the answer is yes. I wouldn't know how to do it without a state, okay? Because it's actually a state of the application. Think always in terms of you need to recreate a view of the application, okay? Do I need this information or not? If I need this information, that is a state, okay? I cannot compute that information from the state that I already have. No, so that's definitely a state, okay? If I can compute it from the information I already have, like the filter and the list of films in the lab, it doesn't need to be a state, okay? But here, I mean, I cannot really compute it because it's a click done on a button and then a new form will appear, but in this form I need to know which button was pressed before. So this information has to be stored somewhere. The ID of the answer to be edited. The ID or something else, like all the fields of this answer or the answer itself and so on. Okay? So when you press this, the button, you call this props, edit and so on, it arrives here, edit answer ID, and so I'm not setting answer, I'm setting actually the object that I need to edit because I decided to make it a state, okay? So set edit object and I will make a state for this, const set edit object. Oh well, no, edit object, set edit object equal to use state. What I'm storing inside this state? Well, I must tell you, in the beginning, I don't know. Okay, I didn't know before programming this example. Of course, I already thought, but I want to make the reasoning with you. Okay. Well, actually, I did write edit object and not edit ID. Okay, that's fine. But I mean, that's a possibility. It's fine. So set edit object, and I need to find the object that corresponds to the ID. Okay, something has to be written here, right? And so should I store the ID or the object that corresponds to the ID? So the whole answer with the fields and so on. Well, I would say let's see what is needed from the answer form. Okay, the answer form needs an initialization because when you go to the answer form, no, where is the answer form? Here. It needs values for these elements. Set text, set date, set score, and set respondent. So the 4 elements that corresponds to the ones that are already in the list of the answers. And can this function compute them from the ID? Well, actually not that easy, right? Because I didn't pass the answers to this function. It's just forms. It's just a form, right? And in the beginning I didn't need them. So either I decide to pass all the answers to this element the answer form, and I pass the ID. But here in the initialization, I need to compute all the initializations. Or on the other side, so here in up, in the main, okay, I store an object, and then I pass an object that contains all the information that is needed to initialize the form in the answer form. Okay, I chose the second option, but there's no really no preference. I mean, you can pass the answer list and the ID, it's still fine. Maybe I would have a tendency to pass the object because I would like to create a form that only cares about handling the content of the form, and it doesn't care about the list of all the answers. Okay, but it's just a preference. At our level is probably the same. Okay, at the exam, I mean, provided that you know what you're doing, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. Both solutions are fine. Let's try to do to pass this object. So to set the object. Okay. So here, how do I find the object? Well, actually, the object is from the answers. That's a state, the list of the answers. I need to find the object, right? Yes, find. Find. It takes a callback that tells which object has to be selected, which element has to be selected from the array. So e element e id equal to id. Okay? Yes. Okay. So now the point is that when I press the button, and there will be a button, hopefully, yeah, you see the button, I press the button, I don't know what it wants. Yeah, there will be something that we need to fix again, but it doesn't matter. When you press the button here, you set this state in main. Okay? Let's look for the error. Probably answer components, prop edit again, same error as before. Okay? So you click here, nothing happens yet. But components, main, this time is main. You see I have a third state that is the answer. You see answer ID 1. If I click here, answer ID 2, and so on. Okay? I stored the information into a state. Okay? And now what I'm missing? Opening the form, initializing the form. So let's open the form. That's the simplest thing. Oops. What did I do? Oh, nothing. Okay. Opening the form. Here. Set show form. I don't care. You know, it's React task to show things. I just change states. Set show form. True. Okay. Save. Good. Okay. Now test the application again. Let's close it. Okay. So click here, and the form is shown, and the state is set with the object. Okay. I just need the last element of the solution, so I just need to initialize the fields. Okay. So I need to pass first the this edit object to the answer form. Okay. So edit object equal to edit object, and I need to use it on the other side. So for components here. So I just want to make sure that it works for both cases, if the edit object is set or not. Okay, because I want to have the same form working both for adding and editing. Okay, so the initialization is a bit more difficult. Okay, so like props edit object, if it's set, so we take props edit object text. Otherwise empty as it was before. Okay? Otherwise, I can just write props edit object, but I need to make sure that edit object is always defined. Okay? It has the properties. Otherwise, it gives me an error when I'm using properties that don't exist. I mean, it gives me undefined, which is not what I want. Let's do the simplest one. Edit object score or 0, right? Yes. Respondent, that's easy. Props edit object respondent or empty. And the date, well, actually, yeah, the date is, yeah, it depends on how I stored the date. Okay? So, condition is the same. If it's set, how did I store the date? I don't remember. I need to check. I think it was in the QA model. The date is date.js, but yeah, the date is coming from, yeah, it should work without the date.js. I don't know why I wrote date.js. Ah, yeah, I wrote date.js because I need to convert it into a string. Yes. So here it's props edit object date, and this date is a date.js object. So I need to format it as today's date, right? So format year, month, day. Okay. Just new line. Save. Okay. So it should work, right? Hopefully. So let's try. Edit the second one. Good. Okay. So we initialized the form correctly. Cancel. Add. Well, almost, right? Because the state is kept by components until they are destroyed. Okay. When they are destroyed, when they don't belong to the virtual DOM anymore, or it's a more long story that we will see in next lectures. Okay. But I mean, at least we have something that works, right? Okay. Good. So now, next step. Next step is making the save button work. Okay. So it's not like if I do save here, you see, I'm adding. I need to make sure if I'm adding or editing. If I'm editing, I cannot just call the add function because it gives a new row, right? So props add answer. Well, no, actually, props edit object. Yes, we call it. Well, let me write it in a simpler way. Okay, it doesn't work with the question mark. If props edit object, we do props, how do I call it? Save existing answer. So it's very clear. Save existing answer. I need to write this function yet. I didn't write it yet, right? And ans. Okay? Else props add answer. Okay? And of course I need to go and write this function. Where? Again here. Function save existing answer and answer. Okay. Okay, good. And don't forget to pass it. Save existing answer. Save existing answer. This is a props, and so need to be passed as an attribute. And then we need to write this function, and basically it's a modification of an array. Okay. Again, always look here. Nothing new. Okay. So set answers callback. Okay, because it modified the previous state. No, we can write it with a single line. Okay. Answers We use the answer list, just be consistent. Okay, because this is just a parameter of the callback. Okay, map. When we find the ID that corresponds to our answer, we edit the answer. Okay. Okay. So map e ID equal to answer ID. Why do you suggest something wrong? Okay. Ans or e. Okay. So the map returns either the element that already exists, that is e here, okay, or the new answer. How do I make sure I created a new object? Well, I wrote the code, so I know that here I created a new object. Okay? If you didn't create the object, well, actually, I'm not sure. You need to collect the information from the state, so you probably have to create a new object in any case. Okay? I wouldn't know how to write it without creating an object. Okay? So anyway, if you are unsure, just recreate the object. That's fine. Okay? Not very efficient, but it's fine. But I mean, we are not looking to for so much efficiency. Okay? So much optimization. Okay, good. So now you know. Now we edited the answer, right? So let's try the solution. Edit the second one, Harry 2. Save. No, it doesn't work. Let me check. Okay. Edit. Harry 2. Save. No. It's very weird. Okay. 2. Save. We need to debug. Anybody has an idea is very welcome. I mean, to save time, more answer form. No answer. Where is the? Not the answer. The main. So answer 2 is fine. Let's see the result. Harry, and so I don't know what to do. I need to check if this function is called, right? Don't know. Console log. Just debugging a little bit. Don't know. Save existing answer. Answer. Let's see what happens. I'm not sure. I just clean a little bit of stuff. So okay. So edit. Let's have a look at the console. R2. Save. So it gave me the object. So I think, where's the problem? Set answer, answer list, map EID, answer ID, answer ID is correct, right? Where's the ID? There's no ID, right? Yeah, it's no ID, right? No ID in the answer, right? I forgot to put it. I'm looking for undefined, right? So ID, okay? ID is a problem here, okay? ID is a problem because if the answer exists, it's fine, but it doesn't exist. It's not so intuitive, right? No, what is this solution? I use the trick which is dirty. Well, let's use the trick and then I'll discuss about this, okay? So, ans id equal to, what's the props edit object id, okay? So I didn't pass the ID back when I created a new object answer, okay? But I wanted to use it to select which answer I wanted to edit. Okay, let's check if it works. Okay, so let's edit this one, save. Okay, we got it. Okay, but this creates a new problem. I mean, you see that I add an answer without an ID, right? When I add the answer, there's no ID because I just added here because I knew the ID. And so how I am supposed to solve this problem? Well, actually, I don't have a way to solve it in an easy way now, because actually the ID is not created by the client application. I mean, in this toy example, of course, we can create an ID. But in general, in a web application, unique IDs are created by a server, and we don't have a server at the moment. Okay? This is a big problem at the exam. I mean, that's why, in previous years, I did this trick, well, just look for the max +1, and that's fine. But this works only until we don't have a server. It's just a toy to solve our problem in a client application because we are just playing with the client. IDs are always created only by the server if you want to have unique IDs, of course. You can create IDs wherever you want. But if you want to have the guarantee that the ID is unique, only the server can give you this guarantee. Okay? So now we need to accept some compromises. If we want to edit an added answer, so let's add something. Now we cannot. I need to do another modification. But if we add another answer and we want to edit it, either we assign an ID in some ways, or this code will not work. Okay? But adding the ID client side is just for this toy example. I don't want to see it at the exam. Okay, because it means that you think the only client using your application is your client, while in normal web applications there are many clients using the system. Okay, and so the only place where you can create the unique ID is the server. Okay, and typically the database. Okay. And that's why we like this database with the auto increment and so on, because it makes the work for us without the transaction and all the stuff. Okay? And that's what is typically done also in real web applications. When you create a new element, somebody gives you a new ID, which is guaranteed to be unique. Okay? Okay, so we leave the bug for now, but I wanted to fix another thing before we arrive at the end of the lecture, more or less. That is, you see that now I cannot add things anymore, right? Because even if I press add something, it's already set. How do I reset this stuff? Where do I reset this stuff? Okay? Well, first, when I cancel, I could reset the content of the form. Actually, I'm not resetting the content of the form because we say we have a state, the object to be edited. Okay? So the object to be edited, which is here, okay, has to be resetted in some ways. Reset, actually. Set edit object. And so when I press the cancel, I would like to have it resetted, right? So button, this is the add something, and to the answer form we pass the close form. Okay, session form false. Not enough. Set edit object undefined. Okay? Or empty, it doesn't matter. Okay? Just make sure it works. So we edit something, we change our mind, cancel, we add something, that's good. Okay? We have a state that decides which object is going to be edited. If it's undefined, it will be initialized with the empty values in the form component. Okay? Thanks to this situation. Here, props edit object, set, yes, we use the value. Otherwise, we have a default value. Okay? Good. And so what did we do? We simply did two things here. Okay? In the closed form. Closed form is just set show for false, of course, and set edit object undefined. Okay? And actually, it's the same as the initial value. I didn't write anything. I could write undefined here. Okay? Doesn't really matter. It's undefined if you write nothing in JavaScript. Okay. Let's still fix the last bug, which is more subtle. And the last bug is this one. Okay? So I edited the second one, Harry. Let's edit the fourth one. Doesn't work. Why? But if I close it and I open it again, it works. That's really subtle. Okay? So, I mean, but it makes us think about how React works. React works in this way. When you create a component, this component lives until it's in the tree, in the virtual DOM tree. Okay? And so, if, no, actually, yes. So when you cancel, when you press the cancel, you make the component disappear from the virtual DOM tree. And you edit anything else, React creates a new component, a new answer form component, okay? A new answer form component. And so it started from scratch, and the state is not preserved. It just initialized again, new states and new initialization, okay? But if the component stays there, like here, we open the fourth one, and we click on the second one, okay? We have no way of telling the component that it should re-render itself, okay? Because we should change some states to re-render the component itself, okay? This can be solved, and the trick to solve it is using the key attribute that we saw for the lists. So basically, when you need a component, when you have a component that needs to be re-rendered, if you give the component a key attribute and you change the key, you force the component to be re-rendered. Okay? So we need this answer form to re-render each time the ID of the edit object change. Okay? And so we just write this thing here. So answer form key equal to edit object ID. Okay? Actually, edit object is not always defined because it can be undefined, right? So we need to make sure it's defined. If it's not defined, just assign any value is fine. Any value which is not an ID, -1, whatever. Okay, I think it's like this. Key. Yes. Okay. So this will make everything work. Okay. So edit the second one. It's good. Edit the fourth one. Good. Okay. So basically, the key attribute is a special attribute for React. We say that for lists, it allows React to check if the element is the same or not. And actually, it also means that if it's the same, it will not be re-rendered by React. Okay? And here we are using the same system, but with in the opposite way. So we force the re-render by changing the key attribute. Okay? And the key attribute is the way in which React, if present, if the key attribute is present, decides if the component has to be re-rendered or not. Okay? And if the component has to be, actually recreated, sorry, not re-rendered, recreated or not. Okay? Recreated. So we recreate a new component. So this answer form, and so it means that the state is initialized again because it's a new component. Okay? So the old component is discarded and the new component is created and it's initialized correctly. And so our button, the edit button, works now. Okay? It's the most difficult situation. If you are not sure how to do this, I think that there will be other systems later in the course with use effect and so on. You can add an additional state and stuff like that. This is the way we can solve it at the moment in the course. Okay, at this point in the course. Okay, but for the rest, everything works except for the fact that when we create new elements, new answers, we will not have an ID. I invite you to try to create an ID, but I don't want to show this code here because then people do cut and paste, and I find it. I find the code at the exam, and I say why you didn't generate the ID on the server. It was in the example and so on, but yeah. That's because we don't have the server. Otherwise, the correct thing to do is, okay, we have this information. When we will have the server is, take this information, send it to the server stores the new answer, it creates a new ID, it sends back the ID, plus the information if we want to have the information back, and then we will use that information to refresh the content of the page. Okay? And so we will have the ID as well. But the ID is the one that comes from the server. Okay? So for the lab, just focus on making the form work, controlled form with all the fields and so on. Add the form to the list. I think the edit is, well, I didn't publish it yet, but I think the edit was optional. Okay, for next lab, not tomorrow. Because it's more difficult, of course. And also it's more difficult because we don't have pages, we don't have a server and so on. Okay? If we have the pages, it's the stuff that we are going to see after Easter, so the routes and so on. When you go to a different page, all components are destroyed and new components are created, and so this problem doesn't show up. Okay? So this is just, to finish this example in a in a nice way and make everything work, okay, and reflect on the key attribute that we saw before, just to see that sometimes things can be a little bit more difficult than what we thought in the beginning. So I would say if you have any questions or comments, yes, good. So you mean if we press save?
Yes, and then adding something, there is the same state.
Well, actually we edit, we were in editing mode, right? Now. So we press save and we update the content of the element, right?
Yes.
So let's say 4 into, okay? Yeah, actually we should have closed the form, right? And yeah, you mean if we close the form, that's one thing we can do with the save. So let me do it. So add answer. Yeah, actually yeah, we should, where should we close the form? On the add answer, right? Add answer. So here, we should set the show form false, right? Okay, so we save it. So let's edit. One, 2, 3. Save it. No, why it doesn't close? I forgot something, right? Set show form false. Add on. It's in add. Yes. So yeah, we had to add, right? You're right. Sorry. Okay. So let's add something. Okay. And then no, the problem is not there because every time the form is closed, the component gets destroyed. Okay? Because it's not part of the virtual DOM. It's recreated again when we are adding something. Okay? Because we close the form, right? The point is that with the edit, we want to press another edit button without closing, right? Because if we close, it works. But here, I mean, you don't have to add buttons. Let's say, well, you have 2 edit buttons available here, right? So I'm not sure I got your question right, but I mean, when you add a new component, is always created from scratch, the answer form. Okay, so it has not the problem of having a previous value because it's created from scratch. Okay.
Yes, my problem was about adding after an editing.
Yeah, actually it's not possible at the moment because the save either add or edit, because in the code here in the form we have an if. Okay, we could even have a button that shows something different, like props edit object add or edit close. So that's more clear, right? So this is edit. No, sorry. Edit and add. I just swapped them. Okay. So this is add, and we are in adding mode. But if you go to edit, you are in editing mode, and you cannot add because you only have one button. Okay? If you want to add after editing, you need to have a third button, and you need to create a button that calls the add or the edit that calls the edit. Okay? I'm not sure if I got your question.
Also close the form after the
Yeah, also close the form. Yes. Closing the form is just about the user interface. And also, we saw it's about destroying the object. But when we will have different routes, different pages in the application, when you change page, basically you destroy everything. So this problem will go away automatically. Okay? Okay, good. Any other question? That was interesting, okay? So we only have one option here. That is just a button. We cannot just decide to edit to add after we edited something, okay? Because that's the way in which we design the application. If we want to have this option, we need an additional button. Okay. Oh, no other questions? I know it's been a long, let's say, coding session, but it's probably one of the most important and complex topic of the course, okay? And you have some code from which you can start writing your own, okay? Tomorrow it's about filtering, deleting, and then there will be the edit next time, okay? So there will be 2 labs about all this stuff that we've seen until now. Okay, so I think we are over in terms of time. So thank you for your attention. If you don't have any other questions, we finish here for today. And tomorrow there's the lab. I will be available for all the 3 hours. Remember, room 3, R3B, as you already saw last week, and then 10I, I think, right? We need to change room, unfortunately, if you want to stay for 3 hours. Okay, thank you. I will publish the code, of course.